Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 already of the HoopsCrush podcast. With me is Brady Parks. I'm Eric Brandt. Only 2 games to talk about for the Blazers since we last spoke with episode 6. But other than the 2 Blazer games, how was your week, Brady?
Yeah, the Blazers games have been obviously pretty rough to watch. They've been competitive at least, but obviously have come out on a 3-game losing streak now. Other than that, my week has been pretty solid for the most part. I can't complain too much.
Good. All right. So the Blazers didn't play till Wednesday last week, and then they go down to Sacramento. Uh, just a heartbreaking loss in overtime. What were your thoughts on? Do you remember much of the game? Like, I know you were on the watch party with Tori for that one. How much of the game do you remember?
Yeah, I feel like I've thrown this game in the back of my head. I was in the watch party, so it's not like I didn't watch the game at all because I was literally locked in watching the game. Obviously,
Yeah,
very competitive game till the very end. You and I, the day before, we're saying we're probably gonna lose because someone was gonna torch us from three or whatever. And I do remember the Kings were like you kind of missing wide open shots all night, so I feel like the game shouldn't even really been that close to begin with. But the Kings were like really gifting us a lot of open shots. No, Aiden got hot for a second. Grant obviously had a great game with 38 points. But obviously, other than that, we lose sharp before we hit overtime. So that was cool that we got it to overtime. But other than that, I don't really remember much. I think I've just done this game in the back of my head. Skylar Mays tries to sidestep three at the very end. He had a great game for the most part. But just another heartbreaking loss on the season so far for Portland Trailblazers.
yeah, just turnovers, poor execution, untimely fouls. Mostly the story of the season so far, other than injuries, which we had another injury in this game, which we'll get to in a minute. But I felt like at the end of regulation, when Skylar took that sidestep, it was obviously not the play design, but I really felt like that was a golden opportunity to give Aiton a chance to win the game. And I feel like his confidence would have been at an all time high had that happened. So I was kind of disappointed that we didn't at least try to get him involved, especially since they took Jeremy out of the play with Sharp out of the game. So yeah, I would have liked to seen Aiton maybe get a chance to go for a game winner there. We know he can get his shot off in pretty much any situation. It probably would have been a little bit higher percentage shot than the one
Yeah,
Skylar
because he
got.
was cooking for a second, like I feel like in the third or fourth with those mid
Hmm.
ranges. So, yeah, I remember saying like, man, I kind of want to go to Aiden in this final shot, but it didn't end up happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then so 6 minutes into the game, Brogdon goes down with a hamstring injury. We don't really know the severity of it. He ends up missing the next game. Um, it seemed like it was going to be something that kept him out a few weeks, but the Blazers posted a video the next day of him doing some light work at practice. So it probably isn't like terrible, but just so between that and Scoot now is out an additional 2 to 3 weeks. We're hoping he would be back for one of these 2 games. Um, and he's going to be reevaluated after a setback with a bone bruise. We still have Anthony Simons out probably another month or longer. And Robert Williams officially got surgery, the season ending one, and is done for the season. So, uh, just where do you think we stand player wise with all these injuries?
Yeah, it's really weird because obviously we came in the league or came in this year with a lot of guard depth, and we're over here like worried about our guard depth now. We had to bring Skylar Mays up on the active roster, and he's earned it because he's played well. Don't get me wrong, but obviously lose Simons first game of the season that really sucked. Lose Scoot, now we lose Robert Williams out out for the season. Brogdon goes out. It's just been all around really unfortunate start. Injuries have just hit us like an absolute train. And it sucks, man, because, obviously we had that fun little streak there for a second. I'm not saying like the injuries are the reason why, we're not good right now. I mean, obviously that doesn't help, but I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just like weird because I don't even know what our identity is. And those injuries have not helped at all trying to figure out what we really truly are at the moment. You need Simon's back because he was supposed to be a huge part of this. Scoot obviously was the guy we chose to be the future here. First few games, obviously not ideal, but I feel like he's gotten better each and every game. So I just can't wait till we get Scoot and Simons back. Unfortunately, Robert Williams won't be back. I'm hoping we get. I don't know. I don't know if they already released an injury report about Brogdon's status tomorrow for Utah's game, but I'm hoping we have him for the in-season tournament game. But yeah, it's been unfortunate, man. It really sucks with all the injuries we have going on right now. And it's
Um,
not been fun because obviously injuries are something that is a lame part of the sport, but it is the reality of basketball and most other sports, obviously, as we know.
Malcolm Brogdon is officially listed for out in
Oh,
what
so
will
we
be
don't have,
tonight's game against Utah. Yep.
yeah, so we don't have him for that game either. So,
No. Yeah, I just think like any injury they have, they're going to be super cautious with this year. So, unfortunately, it's really testing our depth right now. So you mentioned Skylar Mays gets promoted. He gets signed to an actual contract off a two-way. What did you think about his play the last two games, and then also the decision to use that roster spot to bring him up?
he's been great. I actually love what I've seen from Skylar Mays. He looks confident out there, which is awesome to see. There was always he was always pictured in some pictures, but was like never actually like officially on the roster in the off season. And then finally they obviously made it official with the two-way contract. And obviously he's had to play because of the injuries we've had going on. And I mean he stepped up big time. I mean looked really good in the Lakers game, looked good in the Kings game. So I love the addition of Skylar Mays. Obviously we need some guard depth anyway. And I think Skylar Mays having him is an actual real blessing right now because if we didn't, not really sure who we'd be turning our attention to as a backup guard at the moment.
Yeah, it's just so steady. Like he gets to his spots, he passes the ball well. Um he does dribble sometimes, but it's not like over dribbling to shoot like some of our other players do. It's more just trying to set up the offense and get to certain areas. So I feel like he's done a really good job of kind of steadying the team and just playing solid on both ends. Um, but just a little side note on why they decided to sign him. So the two-way rules are a little different this year. Uh, in the past, you had two-ways, and they could play 50 games each on the regular roster. Um, but this year, they added a third one, but there were some additional rules. If you had less than 15 players on your roster, you could only play your three-ways a total of 90 games. So it significantly reduced the amount of time you could play your players, your two-way players, if you kept them on the or if you had an open roster spot like the Blazers did. So by signing Mays, that allowed them to not only play him the whole season and not have to worry about his time frame, but they end up calling up Reith, who looked very nice in the G League, and now had a decent debut, which we'll get to in a minute in the Lakers game. And then they end up signing Jamari Bouye as well. And so that allows them to get just a little bit extra depth while they have all these injuries, while also not worrying about running into the games played situation later in the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's been already a lot of movement as far as our two-way contracts and having guys, get sent up and down the G League roster. You had Ish Wainwright and Ryan Repair get sent down today or whatever it was, and then obviously Murray got sent down for a second, came right back. So there's been a lot of movement already when as far as our two-way spots and G League spots, which is nice because obviously we never had the luxury of having a G League
Yeah.
team. So that's really cool that we have that now officially. But yeah, man, injuries have been kind of the theme and kind of the why this is all happening at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I like about having the G League team is, especially it worked out this time because they were playing in the same city, but um, like when they're playing in Portland and stuff, they're going to be practicing, same place at the Tolan practice facility. So it's really easy to move players back and forth, and players like Chris Murray and Ryan Repair who just need some minutes playing basketball and need to get into a groove and kind of get their confidence up. I feel like that's a really good opportunity for them to just go down every chance they get and just get some actual minutes instead of just like garbage time minutes at the end of a game or maybe spot minutes for Chris here and there, but not really anything meaningful or impactful yet so far through 9 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a whirlwind so far, man. I'm just ready to be healthy for sure. Hopefully that
Man,
happens soon.
that'd be so nice.
Yeah.
All right, so the Blazers go down to LA on Sunday. Uh, they play pretty well for most of the game, and then much like the Kings game, just failed to execute late in the game, and unfortunately end up on the losing end again. What were your thoughts on that game? What stood out to you? What kind of performances do you want to talk about from that one?
So there's a lot of things that stand out to me. I'm gonna try to make sure I get to everything. I might forget to say something, but Matisse Thybulle was pretty damn good in this game. I loved what we got from him in this one. Had some really big threes, steals, blocks. He was all around the floor, which was great. Uh, DeAndre Ayton, the effort at the end was very weird to me. That Torian Prince steal was absolutely ridiculous. I'm not gonna be like mad at him totally for it, but it was definitely absurd. I feel like Shaden. I kind of. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Shaden Sharp didn't get enough shots in this one. But I don't know if that's just my opinion on that, or I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that. Skylar Mays had a nice double double. And obviously Cameron Reddish in the starting line for the Lakers, he had some like a couple steals on some like lazy inbound passes from us, scores 18
It drives
points.
me crazy.
Yeah, like that happened a couple times. Close game throughout, but and then obviously the Rui Hachimura Jeremy Grant foul at the end. I thought that was an offensive foul. It felt like Rui Hachimura dived into him, but obviously the ref didn't give that to us. I didn't mind a challenge from Chauncey Billups, of course, on that, but unfortunately, we didn't get it, and that's just what happens. But really unfortunate game, close one, and just fell short.
Yeah, I completely agree about the challenge. I usually try not to complain about the refs, unlike in real life when I play basketball, I get mad at the refs all the time. But anyways, in when I'm watching the Blazers, especially like this year, it's like, I mean, like how much can the refs really affect a game? But then you watch a play like that where, like I don't know what the defender is supposed to do there if you're Jeremy. Like
Yeah.
he's just moving his feet, standing in position, and all the contact is initiated by Rui. That's an offensive foul to me, or at the very least, a no call, and let him play. But to call that foul on Jeremy, like I mean, like it's not like he reached in or touched him at all. He just stood there while Rui touched him. So I don't understand that at all,
Yeah.
especially after reviewing it.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, I'm not saying like that obviously changes the game dramatically for us. I know they didn't count it as an and one. I thought it was gonna be an and one, but I'm pretty sure they took it away and just gave him free
Yeah.
throws.
Mhm.
And then something I failed to mention as well. No Moses Brown minutes, I believe, in this one. It was all Duop Breath, and obviously he hit a couple big threes for us. And really nice minutes from him. But other than that, just another close loss for the Blazers. I mean, that seems like that's gonna be the theme this year potentially.
They had to play Bouye as well in that
Oh
one
yeah,
because of injuries, so I felt like he did pretty good considering he had just
yeah,
officially signed earlier in the day
and
and
then played.
didn't really know much of the playbook or hadn't played with any of these players yet. So, yeah, it's weird when like Mays had another good game, Reith and Bouye come in and look like they're just as confident as some of the players that have been here all season, when they haven't really had an opportunity. And yeah, I think Reith showed that he could play in the NBA. Like he's got some useful skills between his shooting. I thought he'd really struggle on defense in the NBA because uh, he's only about 6'9". He's not like super athletic or super quick laterally or anything. But I thought he was really positionally sound with his help defense, was in the right spots, even though he's not like a huge shot blocker or anything. He got in the way of several drives and contested shots. I don't know if that's going to hold up like long term, but for now, like he did his job, and I think it was pretty clear that he should be getting those minutes over Moses Brown in those situations.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, it looked pretty solid in the summer league for us, and had a solid first game. So, if they want to continue him as the backup five over Moses Brown, I mean, obviously having a guy that can space the floor like that, as big as he is nice. So, I'm very happy to see Duop brief minutes going forward over Moses Brown. No problem with that at all.
Still think sometime between now and the trade deadline they need to address that with one of their trades if they make them bring in just another young big that can compete with those guys for minutes, especially since Retha's on a two-way, won't be able to play the whole rest of the season.
Yeah, I
But
agree. I just not sure. It'll be interesting to see how we treat the deadline. We've been talking about that a
yeah,
lot, but I'm curious
hmm
to see how that goes.
yeah, and yeah. As far as Sharp goes, you mentioned his amount of shots. He shot what 15 shots in this game, I believe.
Yes.
Um, in my opinion, when you're without Brogdon, you're without Simons, uh, you're without Scoot, you should be doing everything you can to get Sharp like 20 shots a game,
Yep.
and I don't understand not doing that. Um, Bouye comes in, takes 6 shots. Mays, I don't know how many shots he ended up with, but I think it was double digit shot attempts. Um, and then, Jeremy's, of course, getting a lot of shot attempts. Ayton, not so much, I guess. But yeah, just I feel like right now, until we get guys back, Sharp should be taking 20 shots a game. They should be making a concerted effort to run plays for him to get shots. Uh, Lamar Hurd during the broadcast on the Blazers side had mentioned that Chauncey wants Sharp to take some bad shots every once in a while, just to get in the mindset of you need to pull up in certain situations and not pass. And Sharp had a horrible game turnover wise. I
Oh
think he
yeah,
finished
he
with
did.
seven turnovers, including some really bad passes where he got caught and tried to throw cross court lazy passes, which just can't happen if you're going to be the one of the main ball handlers. And he's young; he's still learning, but hopefully he had a good learning experience from that game in particular, because you just can't do some of the things he did, turn the ball over in some of those situations that lead to easy lay-ins. Um, but yeah, as far as shot quality, I just feel like the coaches need to do a better job of running sets for him designed to get him to shoot more, and there's really no reason not to get him the shots when other people come in. I think Reith came in and took 10 shots as well. So like there's shots to plenty of shots to give Sharp more. And some of these other guys a little less that don't need to necessarily be shooting double digit shots.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the three guys we should be focused on the most this season. I mean, Jeremy Grant's going to get his, of course, that's to be expected. But it's Simons, it's Scoot, it's Sharp, and obviously, we got Simons and Scoot out right now.
Yep.
So Sharp should be the guy in
hmm
charge. I don't know if that's just him being lackadaisical or whatever, but yeah, it's not enough. I feel like I think he should be more aggressive. And yeah, you mentioned the turnovers. He had a couple. I know one of them was for sure, but were both of them the lazy passes in bounds to Cameron Reddish? Were those both his too, or was it someone else? I
Uh,
think.
he he was both. He was the receiver of the ball in both of them, I think, and just kind of didn't go grab it
Yeah,
firmly or
and then he
come to the
lost it.
ball. Yeah.
I remember losing it in transition as
Mm.
well. So just an unfortunate turnover game for Sharp, but yeah, just want to see him be more aggressive. We need it right now.
I also think you mentioned everyone, but one person I think should be getting a little bit more shot opportunities too, and that's DeAndre Ayton. Um, I don't know if that's what led to him not giving effort there at the end of the game, but um, you need to get him involved, especially early in games. Last year and the year before, Chauncey made it a point at the beginning of each half, usually to try and get an easy basket for Nurkic, and I feel like they should be doing the same thing for Aiton just to kind of get him going because he does seem to play harder, play better when he's made a basket or something on one end, and then he plays better on the other end when that happens.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like when we have given him the opportunities, he's capitalized on it for the most part. He's really nice touch around the rim, has a really nice mid-range shot. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I feel like Aiton's another guy we should be feeding a lot more. I don't see why we shouldn't be doing that, especially with all the injuries we have right now. I mean, Aiton could be that third scorer we could go to right now, and it just is. It's not enough volume for him either. I agree.
And for those that missed it, so there was a play late in this game. I think the Blazers were down. Was it three?
Yeah, it was
Something
close.
like
It
that.
was pretty close game
It was
still.
a one possession game. Sharp comes off a screen, thinks he's about to get fouled, so he jumps in the air. Uh, there's obviously no whistle. He tries to throw a cross court pass to Skylar, who's not open. Torian Prince is right on him. Prince knocks the ball away. It goes all the way to the other side of the court, right past Aiton, who just stands there and turns
Just
around and
looks at
watches
it.
it
Yep.
roll all the way to the other side. Meanwhile, Prince hustles all the way across the court, grabs the ball, takes it down, and Aiton finally realizes that he needs to go back on defense, but doesn't even sprint back. And Skylar does, but Prince goes right around him and scores. And Aiton both so he should have probably made more of a play on the ball as it bounced by him. He should have tried to hustle to grab it before Prince did on the sideline, and then he also should have easily been able to get back and probably block the shot from behind, or at least stop Prince from getting an easy lay-in, making it more difficult. So I felt like there was three times in that one play that Aiton kind of just gave up or was lackadaisical, and that really hurts when it's the end of a game and you need everyone to be all out trying to do everything they can to win the game, and you have one of your players just basically standing there in your half court.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate stuff. I remember, we were talking in a group chat, and I was just like trolling around, and just being an Aiden fanatic for no reason. I was just being stupid. But once he did that, I was like, all right, I gotta stop. This guy's,
You can't defend that. Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't defend that. I was just being an idiot. I was just being stupid. But yeah, once I saw that, I'm like, bro, come on, like, what are we doing? So, really unfortunate. Through 9 games, though. Obviously we had the 3-game losing streak to start the season, and then 3-game winning streak. And now we're on a 3-game losing streak. What even is this team? Like, do we even have an answer yet? Because I feel like we
Well,
definitely don't. It's only 9 games, right? But
yeah.
like, it's just injuries have not helped us finding the answer. Because I know this team wants to be, better than it appears, but also at the same time, it's not been going great. Like, what are we through 9 games? I mean, is there a right answer here, or what do you
Well, I
think?
know what we aren't, and that's an offensive team because
Yeah, no
we're
kidding.
we're 30th in defense or offensive rating right now. Um, just I think we're either worst or pretty dang close to being worse in half court offense as well. But at the same time, we're not really trying to run that much, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you're that bad in the half court offense. And yes, of course, like we're missing so many scorers. It's going to be tough to generate offense, especially with all these young guys, and you have Jeremy playing well, but defenses can key on him, and he's the kind of player who can get he gets like the same type of shots almost every game. So it's just like some games he gets more of them or more of them go in or whatever. But it's not like there's like a huge difference in his game from one game to another. It's just a question of whether his mid range is going in and if he's getting to the foul line or whatever. So he's gonna get some, but other than that, I mean, Sharp's had some good scoring games. Just this offense just can't seem to uh, be efficient enough right now, and part of that I think is they had some games when they were winning that they got to the free throw line a lot. And this last game against the Lakers, only 9 free throw attempts the entire game. You can blame the refs a little bit for that, but they just were not doing anything to be aggressive or get to the line, and it's tough to win that way.
Yeah, so do you think the pattern continues starting tomorrow? Do we go on a 3-game winning streak now, or
I mean, it'd be fun.
that would be funny.
I hope so because
In-season
I
tournament game tomorrow too?
yeah, it'd be much more fun to be talking about us being back closer to 500 because that was kind of cool when
It
we
was,
were
yep.
3-3. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they get up for the in-season tournament game. I do like that they've been in all these games.
Yeah, that's definitely the great part about everything.
Yeah, so I mean, like early in the season, their first 3 games, I know they got down like 30 to the Clippers or whatever. But outside of that, um, they've gotten down like 17 in a few games, 13, whatever, and they seem to battle back, um, mostly because their defense has been decent, and I don't know if it's just kind of luck based because they have played several of the worst offenses so far in the NBA, haven't really played too many high powered offenses. And then you play a team like the Lakers without LeBron. Um, and then obviously 2 games against Memphis without Ja. Um, so yeah, that I don't know if that they're ninth in defensive rating as of right now. So I don't know how. I mean, obviously, that's way better than years past when we've been, uh, 29th or 30th. But I don't know how much you can trust that number quite yet because it doesn't seem like they're necessarily doing a ton to just like lock down teams or create a bunch of turnovers. It seems more like you mentioned earlier that teams are just missing a lot of shots against us, which is fine. I mean, that's still good defense. I just don't know if it's going to be sustainable against all the teams.
Yep. So Utah, then Cleveland, and then LA for our next 3 games. Obviously, 2 of those 3 being in-season tournament games.
Do you
Three
think we
game?
win them?
No, I don't. That Cavs game is gonna be tough. I can already tell. The Jazz game is gonna be a tough one. It's in Utah, and then we do welcome the Lakers. Back in Portland. LeBron probably plays in that one, I assume, since it's an in-season tournament game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as players like that if they care about that game or not.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Especially it being the inaugural year, maybe they care a little bit more than usual. I can't see LeBron caring that much about the money, but maybe he cares about his teammates getting a paycheck or something. I don't know.
I think didn't he say in the post game interview of the Suns game with the NCAA tournament, he's like, we're trying to get that 500K or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
I thought he said something like that. So maybe he does care a little bit. I don't
That's
know.
funny. That's
uh
always like the richest person like cares about like a
yeah.
few dollars. That's like 50 cents to us, right?
Yeah. So do you got anything else to add on the Blazers? Or are we ready to move on to the next thing?
Uh well, let's move on to who's crushing it because
Okay.
we can kind of talk about unless you had something else you
Nope.
wanted to say.
I'm ready to move
Uh,
on just like you
all
are.
right, then it's time for our segment who's crushing it. And we'll start off with our Blazers and just to kind of segue. So you want to start?
Yeah, mine's been Skylar Mays. He's been pretty good since he's gotten onto the team, obviously, and has been playing minutes for us. So, yeah, Skylar
Yeah.
Mays has been a really good bright spot for this team that's needed depth. So,
Mhm.
Skylar Mays easily for me here.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 games this week, he's averaged 16 and a half points with 11 and a half assists. I mean, you can't ask for more production than that from a guy on a minimum contract or in the first game a two-way. So, yeah, I mean, anytime you can average double-digit assists in the NBA, that's not a fluke
Yeah.
or something that is just like he's getting lucky or anything. Like he can play, and I'm still shocked that it he lasted on the free agent market all summer, and we were able to get him on a two-way to begin with, because I thought he did enough, at the end of last season to prove that he was an NBA caliber guard. And he's pretty much the perfect third guard who can come in like he's been doing, play really well when you have injuries, and then but doesn't need to. You don't necessarily feel bad about not playing him either if you have your full complement of rotation players. So I feel like he probably has earned maybe even some minutes when we're fully healthy, but
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to play because we already had questions about the minutes rotation with the guards before Skylar emerged. So it's just going to be difficult to find minutes if everyone's healthy. But I don't think you can ask for a better player to have for those emergency situations or when you need a guard to step up.
Yeah, definitely. That was the only Blazer I had, unless you had anybody else.
Yeah, I had a Blazer too. As Jeremy Grant, I think
Oh
deserves
yeah, I mean,
mentioning.
definitely.
Yeah, the 38-point game, but averages 30.5 these last two, with 7 rebounds.
Yeah, he's been definitely
Nice.
cracking the
Yeah.
boards. Yeah, I've
Uh,
noticed that.
and also in those 2 games, he was 8 of 14 from three. So it's nice to see him start to knock down that 3-point shot as well. Hopefully, he can continue that into the in-season tournament games because we really need.
We need it, Grant.
Yeah. We need him, and we probably need at least a couple other players to step up and score as well. Don't know who that'll be because it seems like we have just like random players right now
Yeah, they just step
stepping
up
up.
randomly.
But yeah, I think pretty clearly these since the last time we talked, last 7 days, Grant and Skylar are the two players who have been crushing it for the Blazers.
Absolutely. All right, let's get it around the NBA, right?
All right, who's your first
I
non-Blazer?
told you guys last week if you watched, I had a hard time watching basketball the week before. I said I'd come here with 5, and I do have 5 today, so
Oh wow,
I'm ready to
nice.
bring it. So this first one is funny because it's only through 2 games, and I just have to mention it because obviously this guy has struggled a lot throughout his career. But for whatever reason, the Lakers decided to bench Austin Reeves for Cam Reddish, and I feel like he's given the Lakers good minutes for the 2 games he started. I mean, obviously against us, he had those few little steals there, and then scores 18 points, 7 of 10 shooting, 7 rebounds, and then against Phoenix, 17 points, 5 of 10 from the field. And I felt like he played really good minutes in that Phoenix game as well. So, will it stick? I have no idea. I know the efficiency before that was not great at all. So we'll see. This is why this is a small one where I had to get it out of the way really quickly because it's interesting to see Reddish. It's only 2 games, as I said. He played well those 2 games. But we'll see if it ends up sticking. And obviously, LeBron had a lot to say, a lot of good things to say about Reddish in that first game after they beat the Phoenix Suns when he entered the lineup. So that was my first one.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys who, I mean, he's got talent. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
like everyone knows he's a talented player, and if he ever figures that out or can be consistent, it's fine. He had some really nice games for the Blazers too last year, but he also had some really
Bad
bad
ones, yeah.
ones too. So yeah, it, it's interesting if you put him on a team like the Lakers who have pretty high aspirations for this year. Um, if he can just play a role, but every once in a while, just have one of those games where he basically does enough to propel a team to victory. That could be huge for a team like the Lakers. But I totally understand why the Blazers didn't keep him as well.
Yeah.
I don't think rebuilding teams or whatever is are the right spots for him right now. So it's good for him that he got to a team that he could play more of a role on and not be counted on to have to step up to be that player people expect him to be when he was drafted. But yeah, so hopefully he can form a nice little niche in the NBA still.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Do you want to go to your
You
first
can go
one?
with another one.
Okay. I don't know if we mentioned him last week, but we definitely should have. And you may have mentioned him already, but I'm going to mention him again. Scotty Barnes has been really good this year. Obviously, last year he didn't really take much of a jump. His stats were very similar to his rookie season. But so far on the season, averaging 20 points per game. They just came back tonight on the Washington Wizards, where all game they were getting blown out. So I was like, man, what is wrong with the Raptors? But they came back. Barnes had 19 tonight with 9 rebounds and 4 assists. And then obviously he's just been really good for the Raptors this year. I've liked what I've seen from Scotty Barnes at a 30-point game, with 11 rebounds. He's just been very active, and I think the Raptors should be very happy with what they've seen from Scotty Barnes. And obviously we know how Ujiri is, but I feel like to unlock Barnes' full potential, I feel like Siakam might have to go eventually, but we'll see if they decide to do that. But I like what I've seen from him this year.
Yeah, I think this is the jump they were expecting last year,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
didn't really happen. But it's good to see him play well, and I think he's proving that he is. Because I think that it was weird because they wouldn't include him for KD. There were some rumors that they were trying to get KD,
Yep.
not this last summer, but the summer before. And then he comes out and it's like, wow, this is the guy you wouldn't trade KD for. And then this season now he's showing that maybe he can be the guy, like a franchise guy that you build around and stuff. I think that was a legitimate question that he probably I wouldn't say you could build around him after last season.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely something that you would be a little crazy if you thought you could still do that. But it was good to see him bounce back and have a really good start to this
Yeah,
season.
I remember Raptors fans, seeing the way he was playing last year and being like, "This is the guy we wouldn't trade KD for." Like, there was a
Mm,
lot of negativity around Barnes, so it's cool to see him playing great so far this year.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Tyrese Maxey is
Yeah,
my
I had him on
person.
here
Yeah,
too. I mean,
yeah,
he has just been
uh,
phenomenal, man.
yeah,
28 on the season so far. Had a
yep,
50-point game the other night against Indiana. It's just been
yep.
absolutely amazing, man.
Yeah, I know. I said him the first who's crushing it, and but man, he's been playing even better since then. And they trade Harden, and he's the man now at the guard
And we
position.
know how that's going in LA right now.
Yeah, and he's just stepped up. Philly, the most impressive thing is that they're 8-1, leading the Eastern Conference right now. But just this last week since we spoke, 31 and a half points per game, 8 assists, 5.8 rebounds, man. That he's one of the best players in the NBA right now, and certainly deserving of being on Who's Crushing It.
Yeah, he was going to be my third option. Absolutely. I know you mentioned him last week, but as you know, just deserves to be on here again. Just been absolutely amazing. And man, I round of applause to Daryl Morey because right now he looks like a genius, and that trade looks phenomenal for them because they have so much versatility going to the deadline, whether or not they want to add like a third star to this equation or try to get like an elite role player, a couple elite role players from somewhere or whatever it may be. Obviously, the Lakers were able to do it, and like where they got 3 players in one deal, like maybe they could do something like that.
Yeah,
Like it's just been Maury. I mean, he just finds a way to, I guess, get things done, and it works out for them. Obviously, James Harden, since he's gone to LA, it's been an absolute disaster there. Who would have thought? Obviously putting all those guys together. Russ and Harden had their problems in Houston, and it's not working in LA. And man, I don't know what to expect from that situation, but man, Philadelphia looks like they're flying on just cloud nine right now. They're just absolutely playing great.
all right. Put on your Crushables 2K build hat right now.
Okay.
Uh, You're in charge of the 76ers in their exact situation right now. You have now multiple expiring contracts. You got the Marcus Morris. I think it's about 17 million. You got Tobias Harris if you wanted to
Yep.
deal him. He's got a 30+ million dollar contract expiring. You got Batum and Covington on expiring deals. You got Korkmaz on a smaller one, and now you have, I think, 3 first round picks that they can trade if they wanted to go after someone really good. Uh, on the flip side, if they don't do anything this year in terms of bringing on salary, they could have up to $40 million in cap space in the next offseason.
But that's
So if
before signing Maxi, right?
So what happens with Maxi's contract is he's actually got a relatively small cap hold. So what they can do is go into free agency, sign uh use that cap space, that 40 million, and then they have full bird rights on Maxi, so they could sign him to a max contract, go way over the cap to do so. So what they'll do is just wait, like they'll promise him a max contract, but they'll just wait to sign it to see if they can sign someone else first before using most of that up with Maxi. So they'll go into the tax, but first they have the potential to sign a max contract for for pretty much like anyone they want to go after. And that's a pretty appealing place to play if you're a free agent right now because Maxi is still young and Bede is, a fun big to play with probably for most people. So it's going to be really fascinating to watch what Maury does this season. Um, whether he goes all in, because at the same time, you don't wanna, like, necessarily waste Maxi's playing great and Bede's, getting up there. You don't know how many full years you have with his injury history, so if he's healthy, you don't really wanna just be like, "Oh, okay, we'll regroup next year and sign someone else." So, it might be too tempting to do, a big trade this year and just not go for cap space this summer. So, what would you do if you were building that team?
Yeah, what you just said at the very end is exactly what I would lean towards. We don't got time to waste here, man. And Embiid isn't going to stay this good forever. Maxi's playing great now. Obviously, we're still very early in the season. I expect him to keep playing well, though, as we keep going. But if I'm at the deadline, I'm making a trade if I'm Maury. This is, obviously, you've been trying to win championships for years now with Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid's timeline. Obviously, you've made moves to try to make it work. It's not like they haven't tried. Like it's not, from a lack of trying at all.
Right.
But they got to keep trying. And obviously, you could wait till free agency. And the names that immediately come to mind are like if Kawhi and Paul George were into free agency, if they decline their player options. But I don't know if either one of them are coming to Philly. I guess that's possible. And the Siakam and OG come to mind as well if you want to go for one of them. But it's funny because, obviously I did a rebuild on the 76ers, a video on them right after they traded James Harden. And the
Mhm.
idea I had, because obviously there's like the Zach LaVine idea. If you want to go for him, the Bulls might be blowing it up. Or you got obviously DeMar DeRozan as well. But I don't necessarily like the idea of either of them, to be honest with you. Um, I don't know if this ever becomes available, but the idea I love and I think is the perfect third option to both of them. And it's someone they could have had on their team years ago. You might know where I'm going with this. And again, it's gonna be tough for them to probably get this to happen because obviously Brooklyn is very high on him. But I feel like
Yeah.
Mikal would be perfect
Oh,
if they could get him somehow. I don't know if they'll be able to, but that was what I did in that video because
yeah,
I thought he'd be perfect as the third guy. Because like obviously you
right.
could go like I said, get Levine, but I think Mikal obviously is used to playing a role. He's shown, obviously he's been able to score at a high level now as like the number one option, so he kind of has that in his bag now too. So I just think he'd be perfect as the guy to go for, and he's not even making that much, so they could even do more after that. But knowing Brooklyn, that's going to cost all of your assets to get him. So. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I mean, they owe Brooklyn a future first from the Harden trade to begin with still, so maybe you can, protect that and give him 3 firsts. That's a hefty price, but, yeah, I don't know if he's available. That's so when I asked you if I was gonna ask you, that was, like, the name that popped in my head as well, so maybe it's from, like, watching your videos or whatever, but, yeah, that would be really interesting. I think he would be a perfect fit there. I don't know how realistic that is,
Yeah, it's tough.
um, but yeah, I would.
You
Yeah,
got the Toronto you
I
got the
would definitely
Toronto
go for
guys
it.
as well as an option
Yeah,
if they come available. But yeah, man, if I'm Philadelphia, I think right now Bridges would be the perfect fit
mm.
for that team at the moment.
I You mentioned DeRozan. I don't think Levine's right because I think that messes too much with Maxi's ascension, and I don't want a guard that also likes having the ball a lot too. So I don't know if that's necessarily the right fit, even though Levine would be a really good fit there. Like I just don't know if long term him and Maxi are like the best combination. Um, But you mentioned DeRozan, and not that I think he's the best fit either, but I believe he is an expiring contract, so that might be a way to do both. Like you could make a trade and go for it this year with DeRozan, but you could also
Yeah,
still
I
let him
that's
go and then have that cap space to sign someone better, or if he works out well, re-sign him in the offseason. So that might be just there might be players. Siakam and OG, like you mentioned, are both expiring as well. So you could do that same thing with them. Obviously, if you traded, 3 firsts for Siakam or something, you're probably not going to want to let him walk at the end
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
season. But yeah, that might be the way Maury does it is go after players that he could either easily move if he had to this offseason or could get out of their contract if it didn't work this season.
Yeah, that's the team I'm gonna be paying attention to the most at the deadline with the move they did with the Harden thing. And shout out to
Hmm.
Morey for getting what he got back for Harden because I think he did pretty well. Due to the circumstances he's dealt with this before with the Ben Simmons thing and did very fairly well there. But obviously Harden he had to turn him around too. And there was a video, I don't know if you may have seen it, where this guy, I don't even know what channel it was, but this guy absolutely grilled Harden for like 2 minutes
Oh
straight.
yeah, yeah,
And I just kind of agree with a lot of what he said.
yeah.
But yeah, LA is a mess, man, right now. We'll see if they figure it out, but they better hope they figure it out because, man,
Part of me still feels bad for Harden though, because Maury did kind of do him wrong.
that's true. He did. He did. That is a
Uh,
good point.
yeah, because he did. For those that don't know, he took less money last year so they could sign. He opted out of his contract and took less money so they could sign PJ Tucker and Daniel House. Now it's questionable whether those moves were the right moves, but that's what he allowed their team to do, and that's why I never really blame any player for taking as much money as they can get. And you hear it all the time. Well, if they want to win, they should take less money. It's like, well, look at Harden. He did do that. And then they ended up like not fulfilling their promise to him to take care of him the next offseason. And so I think he was right to be mad in this situation. It's just hard to give him the benefit of the doubt with everything else that he's done prior
Uh,
to that.
Absolutely. Do you have any more hoop
Oh, go
crushes?
ahead. You got one, right?
Mine, yeah, I have a couple more. They're a package deal because they're a team I was very high on going into the season. I don't remember where I predicted them, but I remember I had them predicted in like the top six at the very least. And then so far, that's the Indiana Pacers, man. Halliburton, obviously, no surprise there. He's been phenomenal. Miles
Yeah.
Turner also been really freaking good for the Pacers on a game where obviously no Damian Lillard. Giannis drops 54 on them, and really got close at the end where it felt like the Bucks were going to win that one, and somehow the Pacers find a way to crawl back in it, and they win the game. Halliburton, no surprise here, averaging 24 and 12 on the season, but so far Miles Turner this year averaging 18, 8 points, I think, 18 points, 8 rebounds, also shooting 52% from the field, I believe 40% from three as well. The Pacers have been awesome. They've been fun to watch. Very fast-paced team. They've been a lot of fun to watch, and I had to throw these two in here as guys I'm loving watching right now, who I have a crush on at the moment.
Yeah. Halliburton's ascension, man. That's I really liked Halliburton coming out of the draft. And it's cool to see him get that opportunity and just run with it. And he's been even better this year than last year. And that team's winning games. And it seems like they're putting up major points. This is a whole team every game. So yeah, just a real fun story. It'll be interesting to watch. See if they can creep their way up to the contenders section of that standings, or if they're going to be, closer to the play-in part of it. Um, but I definitely think there's room for them to make the playoffs this year. I'd actually, at this point, be kind of surprised short of injuries happening, if they don't at least make a run for one of the playing spots.
Yeah, as I said, Pacers, man, phenomenal basketball. Been a lot of fun to watch. And those are my last two that I had. I had five for you guys, as I promised I was going to have.
I still have a couple. I just want to mention RJ Barrett.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
been really good this season too. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie.
tonight or last night, if you're watching this on Tuesday, uh, he didn't play due to an illness. But the 3 games prior to that, was averaging 24.7 points per game, had made 11 out of his last 19 three-point shots and, shooting 53% from the field. So if he can shoot, man, that's been one of the problems with him his entire career is just, kinda inefficient and can't seem to knock down shots, um, at an efficient rate. So, uh, if he's actually stroking the ball from outside, that's something that, could really elevate his game, and he's been playing really well lately.
Yeah, that's a great one. Someone I didn't even think about, and you're absolutely right. He's been playing great.
Julius Randle had also been playing pretty well for the Knicks too. And then I just want to mention Mark Williams had a 2020 game this week, so that's crushing it as well. 21 points, 24 rebounds, and so far this season he's shooting 72.6% from the field, which is
Absurd.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
so he's been a really bright spot, and I think between him and Walker Kessler, just if you have like a good defensive big, Derek Lively too, maybe this year is still uh, young in the season to know for sure. But I think if you have a young defensive big that you can get in the draft, we're seeing that those kind of players um, usually pan out and fit pretty well in the NBA.
someone I also didn't write down, but I should have was Anthony Edwards. But I think it
Oh
goes
yeah,
without saying how good Anthony Edwards
yeah.
is, and the Timberwolves have been good so far this season as well. So
Well, and then I mean, we can make this section, this segment, whatever you want to make it. Like, if you want to mention Jokic every week,
yeah,
that's fine. But
that's another thing. We try to stay away from that,
yeah,
obviously.
like Jokic, I mean, that guy has just been phenomenal. Like, I was looking at his stats from the just this last week because I was trying to find guys who just like from the last time we talked, and it was like insane. He was averaging like 16 rebounds and like 35 points a game or something. It's like
They're not gonna have Murray
and
for a while
and
either.
almost 10 assists. Like yeah, just insane numbers. But yeah, I mean, obviously he'd be on here every week if we
Yeah.
if we included him.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jokic's ascension is insane, man. Probably the best
yeah.
player in the league right now. I don't think anyone can argue with that.
Mm. And then finally for today's episode, wanted to do this. Did have several people say they wanted it. So I'm going to present to you, Brady, my HoopsJock prospect of the week.
All right.
Uh, and I'm going to start off with a big one. A lot of you probably already know about this guy, but Troy and I talk about him a lot. So I just thought we'd spend a few minutes talking about him, and that's Alex Sarr, the younger brother of Olivier Sarr. He's a 7 foot big man from France. He's currently playing in the NBL in Australia, and he plays for the Perth Wildcats. And this guy is going to be the next uh
Yama, because he's a France big man.
like
No, I'm just
not
kidding.
necessarily
No, I'm
Wemby,
kidding.
but like the type I don't want to use the word unicorn or anything because that's been like way played out. But you see these guys like Wemby, Chet, Porzingis, um, those kind of bigs. This guy can do it all. He's still really raw. And prior to this season, it was mostly all just like potential with him. But this year he's really starting to put it all together. It started with he played a couple of games against the G League Ignite over the summer, which were really fascinating to watch. And this guy at 7 feet tall was able to basically look like a guard defender out there on the perimeter. And he had several possessions where he stopped Ron Holland, who is also considered to be in contention for the number one pick. From Ron Holland was trying to drive past him, and he couldn't even get past him on the perimeter in an ISO situation. And he blocks shots like crazy. He's got incredible timing on block shots. Is an elite help defender, just really good positioning. Knows when to chase blocks, when to position himself for rebounds and that kind of stuff. Just really good defensive instincts, and I think he's got like that Bam Adebayo, Nick Claxton type of switchability on defense that is a game changer for those teams. And so I think whoever gets him is just going to get a guy who can completely transform your defense from an average one to a great one, or a bad one to a mediocre one, just by himself. Um, Shooting is a bit of an issue. His splits right now are 47, 30, and 52% from the free throw line. Pretty small sample size, but he definitely has the shot. Like it's not like his shot looks ugly or something and you're like worried about it long term. I mean, Wemby also didn't have the greatest shooting percentages, but you knew he could shoot the ball and stuff. So I'm not really worried about it long term. And like I said, he is still pretty raw, so he's still learning how to how to score and do all that stuff. But just the jump he's had from last year to this year has just been phenomenal. And I think he's going to be somewhere in that top 3 when the draft comes in 2024.
Yeah, I mean everything you just said sounds like someone we could use on the Blazers right now. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm down, man. I'm down for that. I mean, what I was just kind of thinking as you were talking about him. What obviously people love to come up with the funny catchphrases for tank for this guy, and
Yeah.
I kind of cooked one up in my head, and it might be kind of lame, but I'm gonna put it out there anyway.
Let's go.
Lower the bar for Alexander Sarr.
Alright.
That was what I nearly came up with. So if we start sucking really badly, as we get closer towards the lottery, I
Uh,
want everyone to be saying that.
yeah, and also, I mean, not that Aiton isn't this. I do think Sarr can space the floor a little bit, become a stretch five, kind of like that Miles Turner that you were alluding to a few minutes ago. Um, but I think even though he's over 7 feet tall, I think he can play with another big, similar to what like Wemby and Zach Collins are doing. Um, Chet can play some power forward and stuff. Like I think he can play it. I don't know if it's ideal long term, but I think he can stretch the floor enough to maybe play with an Aiton. So maybe it's not quite as bad. Like I'm not like choosing Sar over Aiton necessarily, but just to have a rim running big that can also shoot and play defense and just get up and down. If that's the style they want with Scoot moving forward, I think having a young athletic big to pair him with that they can grow together and just become that duo that uh, big uh, that guard big combo, whether it's pick and rolls or running fast breaks or lob plays or whatever. Um, I just think the Blazers could really use that moving forward. A guy that they can grow, a big at least that they can grow with their young guards.
Yeah, it'd be really fun to have some kind of Twin Towers lineup next year, maybe with Aiton and if it was Sar or whoever it may be. If that
Mhm.
were to be the case, that'd be fun. So, obviously in this segment, Eric is gonna be dominating it, but I think throughout, I think I just found my role in this segment. And I'll just try to come up with funny catchphrases. I guess
Yes, there you go.
that will be my
Oh,
job in this segment.
yeah. And I don't know how often their games are on TV or anything, but I know you can check them out on YouTube. They occasionally have some NBL games on there. So definitely, if you're at all interested in prospects. The Blazers right now have, I think, the seventh best lottery odds, um, pending results from tonight. Um, but yeah, so and they also have the Golden State Warriors first round pick, which is currently at 17th. Could be, late lottery or not too far into the teens there. So they probably going to have to pay attention to some prospects this year and talk about at some point. But yeah, it doesn't have to be like super in depth or anything in this segment. But yeah, so don't worry about you not knowing. But if you do have a chance to watch a Perth game, or if you happen to search on YouTube when the next one is, I definitely recommend checking it out. Even though it's a little weird with players that in some of these other leagues where they know a player's going to another league like the NBA the following season, he's only playing like a little over 18 minutes a game.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
um, yeah, it's like I always go back to back in my day, Pau Gasol got drafted and they showed like his stats from the season before, and I was like, what the heck? Like, it was like 6-5 or something, and I was
So that's
like,
always
"What?"
been like that for everybody, pretty much.
Well, it's not really like that in the NBL usually, but, so I don't know what's going on there. But I know, like, in the Spanish league and stuff, they used to hate players that weren't locked up or they didn't have a buyout or whatever, so
Ah, yeah, that
they
makes
knew they
sense.
were gonna lose him in the draft to the draft the following season, so they wouldn't play him as much and just focus on the guys they had. But then like Luca comes along and he's like like he's so good you can't like bench him or
Yeah, no,
whatever. And
absolutely
so
not.
so yeah, it just kind of depends. But yeah, if you have a chance to check out a Perth game, do yourself a favor and do it. Not only to scout maybe a future Blazer, but just to get some uh like knowledge about the draft coming up if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for more information on Alex Sarr, because he could be someone that's very relevant for us in the later on during the season. So thank you for
All
that.
right. Yeah. Well, do you have anything else for this episode, Brady?
Nah, I got nothing else, man. I think that's
Huh.
gonna do it. Hopefully, we win an in-season tournament game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tonight when you guys are watching this potentially. But that's it for me. That's all I
That'd
got.
be that'd be cool if we're talking next week about being 3-0 in group
Yeah,
play.
3 game win streak. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Hopefully.
Um, but yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have a suggestion on who you want us to talk about, if maybe there's a prospect that you're interested in but don't know a lot about, you can ask and we'll put it on the list. I'd also like to know who you all think is crushing it right now. Maybe you were watching a game tonight or anytime during the week and are like, oh, you know what? I need to tell Eric and Brady about this guy. So feel free to leave a comment below if you're wanting to mention someone in particular. And we'd love to read any feedback and comments you guys have. So keep those coming. And thank you so much for watching. And until next week, this has been the Hoops Crush podcast.
Peace out. Go Blazers.